And I will say, before I turn it over to the next speaker, that of course everybody is welcome to come and see this incredible event. I know we'll have visitors probably from close to 100 countries. We want them to come, we want them to celebrate, we want them to watch the game, but when the time is up, they'll have to go home. Otherwise, they'll have to talk to Secretary Noem, who I'll turn it over to now.
I wonder when the U.S. soccer media is going to grow some balls. Look, I don't tend to get political in these types of videos. I don't, nor do I want to at times, nor do I see the need unless there is a means behind it and it's part of a story that I'm telling or part of a news story that needs to be informing in the right manner. But this is different because the U.S. is going to be in the spotlight in a couple of weeks' time because of the Club World Cup. Now, am I saying, is the objective ultimately the Club World Cup? No, but it's the dress rehearsal for the big event. Hearing J.D. Vance saying what he was saying, it ends up being a mockery. It ends up being what many talk about is the sabotaging of football in the United States by the United States. There's a lot of things that irk people that want to see the sport grow, but then see how easily the foot ends up being shot by others. And they talk about how great things are. They talk about how everything is, but they don't inform anything. Everything is perfect. Nothing is wrong. The game is growing. Everything is going forward. No, it's not. No, it's not. And someone has to come out and say it. In these circles, in this sport, in this country, saying sometimes the truth ends up being your death knell, ends up being the end of you. You are not looked at in the right manner. You are seen as persona non grata in many circles. It makes it very difficult to work. I'll be keeping it real. But seeing the media, how quiet they've become. Although there are some that aren't related to football that have come out and said, hey, look what J.D. Vance said. What everything, I don't want to end up having problems here over that because it ends up being borderline a personal opinion. But seeing what he said, that, hey, if you stay a little bit too long, you're wearing out your welcome. Let's leave it at that. And if you're wearing out your welcome, you're going to have to talk to Ice Barbie. That's what it's about. That's where things end up being a little bit more convoluted and more complicated to explain to someone from outside. It's not the most welcoming of messages, to be quite honest, if you look at it from a German standpoint, an Argentine standpoint, a Brazilian, Spaniard, Canadian, whatever the case may be, whoever the case may be referring to. It ends up not being the best of situations when you are saying, hey, by the way, welcome to our country, but don't stay too long. That's where things end up being the problem. And it's not just in that statement. It's in many other actions that have been quite well documented over the last almost 3.5 months. Again, this is not to be political, but there is a political nature that one has to go down in order to explain what's going on. At the same time, I see many here in Miami, that they're all for human rights, they're all for this, they're all for that, they're all for how things are going, but then all of a sudden you talk about how these executive orders and these moves and all of this political mumbo jumbo that's going on ends up affecting the World Cup, and all of a sudden they're all quiet. Everyone from TV personalities to journalists to lawyers, a lot of times that I see that are talking about how, how unjust the system is in the U.S. All of a sudden you start adding the World Cup to it and they get quiet. They get quite quick. There's a lot of interest in terms of when it comes to this World Cup. And I'm not going to be a hypocrite. Let me be completely honest with you. If I end up working something like that, I'm going to work. I need to work. It's part of my career. But at the same time, my responsibility is to also tell you the truth, is to tell you what is going on, is to give you a sincere and honest opinion. I might be wrong, I might be right, but I will always be honest with you. I will always be sincere with you. I will never try and change things in order for it to fit me or whatever agenda I may have. I'll try and be as honest with you as possible. That's all I can do. And today I'm being extremely honest with you, seeing how everything has to do with everything. You know, you see that people are being deported. And if they're being deported here, imagine someone coming from another country and they're at the wrong place at the wrong time. Well, they get booted back. If that. We don't know what twists and turns we might have. Well, hell, we didn't know in January the twists and turns we'd have leading into the month of May. I just need to tell you that so you know exactly what's going on and don't end up having any surprises when you end up coming in. And I hope nothing happens to you. I hope you come and you have the greatest time and you say, hey man, what a wonderful group of people. What a wonderful city, in this case, South Florida or Miami is. And I went to such and such a city and I thought it was marvelous and I had a great time. I want to have people say that. I want to see this World Cup be successful. I want it to possibly be the greatest ever, if it can be. But the way things are going, I can't be going and saying it's going to be the greatest World Cup ever. Although there's many people that I do know that deep down inside know that, and then privately will say that it's not, but then publicly they say they will. I can't do that. For the life of me, I cannot do that. That doesn't come in. That's not part of what I am. See, my criticism is that. My criticism is how quiet media in the U.S., especially people that cover soccer, people that cover the beautiful game, got. Because, man, there was a bunch of them that were they were really brave in their reporting when it came to South Africa and the problems that were going on in South Africa and the issues that were going on leading to that World Cup. And the same thing can be said about Brazil and the stadiums not being ready and the crime and this and, oh, we're going to die if we go to South Africa. And, oh, we're going to die if we go to Brazil. And the problems that were going on in Russia and the human rights things that are going on there. And when the Qatar was going, also the human rights and this and that and da-da-da. And when you get out of the plane, when you land in Doha, the first thing you saw was a U.S. military base. The largest in the Middle East. And you see a lot of things, and you'd hear a lot of things, and a lot of times some things were close and some things were not, and some things were just and some things were fair and some things weren't, but no one really followed through on it at the end. Now, when it's here, no one's saying anything. Hey, you know, people are being deported that are residents, that are citizens, that are, well, immigrants. And nobody says a thing. A couple of people asked Gianni Infantino, said, oh, you know, Gianni, what do you think? Well, football conquers all. Football unites the world. Football is going to bring forth the best in humanity. Love will prevail. The fuck answer is that? Of course, he was happy when everything that happened here, coming from the month of November on forward. Infantino's not going to answer a damn question about it. He's going to try and skirt his way around if he possibly can, and nobody's going to really follow up on it. At the same time, the question that he does like is, hey, what's your favorite arepa? Do you like Venezuelan food or do you like Argentine asado? Which was exactly what was being asked to him at Univision. So, folks, I'm just trying to keep it real. Media here does not want to ruffle feathers, but at the same time, they're not telling a lot of truths. And that is preoccupying in and of itself. Because this World Cup should be great. But the problem is that you have people that are only lying, or not even lying. They're just telling a lot of half-truths or quarter-truths at that point in order to make things look like everything's going smooth, like everything's going great, and this is still the greatest thing ever. I hope it is. But my gut is telling me something completely different.